Robbie.
Stephen Brooks. How are you?
I'm doing well. We record these intros after the show is done, and we just finished the episode on a real downer. So I feel like I want to have something here in the intro, something fun in the intro that maybe someone can go back to and listen to after the episode is done and be like, oh, okay, that's a good palate cleanser.
Oh, like when you're in a haunted house and you come out and you're in the gift shop and you're like, oh, I feel safe now.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. A haunted house gift shop.
Yeah, welcome. Something comforting like a haunted house gift shop. Oh, that happened. It was a haunted house, and at the end of the haunted house, you burst out of the door screaming, and you're in a gift shop, and everyone looks at you like you're a weirdo. Not to mention, when I did that, my pants was halfway down because I had no belt, and my shoelaces were untied.
I went to one up in the Bronx, and it was the same thing. You exit, you bust out of it, and then you're in this gift shop.
Yeah.
I mean, that was fun. Great. So on this episode, we have a How You Doing segment that turns into kind of like a review, like a TV series review, and then we go right into animation news, and then that is where things kind of slowly take a turn for the grim.
Yeah.
Which it's not so grim. It's just hey, this is where we're at, guys.
Yeah.
We're still in a place where the industry is just settling out, and we just gotta ride that wave and find out, did the wave bring us back into shore? Or have we been carried out to be devoured by all the sea creatures?
Now we're in a deserted island, and there's wild animals that are gonna eat us.
We better start getting to making that coconut phone then.
Yeah, you'll find that gift shop in the in the deserted, haunted island.
I want to say welcome to episode 303 of the RubberOnion Animation Podcast, and we're calling this one, in a game time decision, Haunted House Gift Shop.
The end. Ask your doctor about the rubber onion and see if it's right for you.
That sounds really disturbing.
Yeah, that was a bit I thought I was going to do like earlier because we were talking about common side effects. Random singing.
Incomprehensible word pronunciation. Pizza.
Loss of time.
Technical issues.
And diarrhea.
That's just IBS. That's just all the time. IBS and anxiety.
Judging by this episode, and depression.
I'm Don Bluth.
I'm Harry Partridge.
Hi, I'm Tom Moore, teenage superhero.
My name's Adam Phillips.
This is Robert Valley.
And I'm in no way doing a forced plug. No, sorry. I won't say that.
And you're listening to RubberOnion.
1.
Go.
3, 2, 1.
Go.
I know I've said so many things about my puppy, but like there's a countdown game that I do. It's for like, dogs that maybe need a little help getting around things that they're very excited about, right? So if they see a squirrel or something like that, in order to keep them focused on you, you can't play this like countdown game, whatever. So you can go like 3, 2, 1, and then on 1 you give them a treat. So and you do it rhythmically. So they have an opportunity to kind of like run away, and they kind of go toward, but then it's pulling on their impulse. They know on a regular basis, every 3 seconds they're going to get a treat, and every time it hits 1, they come back to you. So I just realized that she's sitting over here, and I counted down. She came right over, and she's like, treat?
Well, to be fair, you are giving her a treat. It is listening to this wonderful episode of the podcast.
Rob, how you doing? That's what this is called, the How You Doing segment,
good.
where everyone's favorite, because I have heard criticisms. Let's say, boy, you have the intro where it's just the two of you, then it's the How You Doing, where it's just like the two of you like talking. It's like a solid 20 minutes of just you guys talking before you ever get to the stories.
Why do you not want to hear about our amazing life? Yeah. I always thought, like, whenever you talk to a teacher, they like start getting off topic and you get a little more personal about them. I thought that was like the fun part of class, not learning learning
Well,
about them.
so I do think that there are. It's like maybe some people listen to it's an animation podcast. We talk about animation news and things like that. And maybe it's kind of like some people want to watch like a video essay or something like that. There's this guy Patrick H. Willems who does movie video essays and stuff, and he has these kind of like this running short film thing that usually happens before he actually gets into the video essay, and I think he's done a pretty good job of kind of translating that for his for his followers that like it, but I do know that there's a lot of people who are just like, oh my God, I don't care about this coconut. I just want to go to the other thing. But then he ended up making a movie. So like, I tend to think just keep doing your thing, and people will appreciate it where it's at.
I probably shouldn't share my amazing story of how I'm moving my office upstairs in my upstairs room.
I mean, you can, but I think that's it.
That's
right?
pretty much it. I mean, if you hear me extra echoey now, I know my mic is usually bad, but if I'm extra echoey, it's because the room is still filling up.
You do have a comically sized like wind filter over the the thing.
It's it's ridiculous. But we had to move because our neighbors they have sex at night, and we used to sleep up here, and it sounds really loud.
That just makes it sound like you don't like the response to that.
Yeah, then it makes you think: are they hearing me? And
yeah, well, they're going to hear this.
How long?
And this is just as good. Have you seen that old? It was a long time ago, but it was a animated music video that was animated by Bernard Derriman, and it was called "Everyone Else Has Had More Sex Than Me."
Oh,
you ever seen that?
I don't remember what it looks like, but I remember that title.
Yeah,
it was like a pop punk kind of song, right?
Yeah. I guess it's a TISM band. I don't know what it stands for. Yeah. Anyway, that just made it.
I'm not having that problem. Trust me, I'm getting plenty of it. I'd be doing it right now if I was
Bernard Derriman. Just to bring it back around, I believe he's the supervising animation director of Bob's Burgers.
Oh, look at that.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. See. This you wouldn't get stuff like this if it wasn't for us, right? I think we have proved our value.
It's like those TV shows when the character kind of like talks about some weird story, but then it ties into the actual thing.
Sure,
and then somebody like me comes and derails it when you're about to make a segue.
Yes.
I'm the guy who knocks. I'm the guy who knocks on the window and there's just the cheap jump scare.
I was just about to say, did you see White Lotus?
Yes,
because that literally just happened on White Lotus. But anyway. What I was going to say is we're throwing a couple things in the How You Doing segment this time because we're not doing like reviews, but we hung out this weekend and you just we were talking about. I mean, I texted you about this, but Common Side Effects on HBO.
Yeah.
Now are you caught up? Did you see all? What is it? 6?
I watched 4 episodes.
Oh no, yeah, 4. 4 is what I mean. Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
Well, 6?
3.5.
Uh-huh.
And I know when we were talking about it, I was just watching the pilot. That's all I watched, and I said I should catch up with the rest of it.
Right.
I've have grown to like it a lot more, but I still feel like I don't know how long they can stretch this story out.
I don't know about stretch the story. I mean, I feel like there's so many stories that you kind of feel like, how could you, the premise is pretty simple. How could you possibly go on from there? I feel like the premise is big enough to where they could take it places. It has all the. How did I describe it to you? It was like a burrito bowl where like all the individual things of the bowl you like. Like I like this and I like this and I like this, but something about it as it comes together is just not gelling for me. And I don't know exactly what it is. I've been trying to put my finger on it, and I can't really. I'm still watching it, and I'm probably I'm going to finish out the season, but I kind of feel like. in a weird way, it's like one of those where the more you get into, I know I'm going to finish the season, but the more you get into the season, the more you feel like, if I feel the same way at the end of the season, it's kind of like it's going to be a one season thing.
Well, yeah, I think it's one of those things where if I stop watching
which is not bad.
Yeah, if I stop watching for a couple of weeks, I'll just never get back to it. And that's just how I am with any kind of series that I'm not watching with someone.
Right, right.
I think what I admire about it is I do like crudely looking characters taking themselves seriously. And
I do think a lot of it rests on that.
Yeah. And it tends to, it kind of goes a little back and forth of like the it's a drama, but it has that quirkiness of the same way you would compare like God, what's the movie? Oh yeah, Fargo.
Oh.
Where they have I had to say oh yeah in order to. So it has that element where it's not too serious. And I appreciate that they went with designs like this because there's so many things that are interesting topics, but I kind of get bored because they look like what I call I guess anyone would call American anime style.
Oh, yes, totally. Yeah. I mean, Pantheon just came out with a second season on Netflix, and I remember when that was like that was canceled on. I forgot. We talked about it. I can't even remember what channel it was on, but yeah, it was canceled. And was it USA? No, shoot, now I don't remember. But it was canceled, and there was this kind of campaign from production. Titmouse, I think, was sharing it around. That was like, it's going to be on Netflix. The first season is going to be on Netflix. And I think they were probably in talks with Netflix over the idea that, hey, if it does well, do you think you'd pick up another season? Because we have it all written out. Like, that's probably what it was like. And it did. It worked. And they got a second season that I think is produced by Netflix. And actually, this weekend I brought it up. We were talking about all the things that animation can do and then the limitations of animation, like what people will accept as part of, I don't really want to watch that kind of thing in animation. And it did come up from Common Side Effects, I think. Yeah. But we were talking like Severance, like what if Severance was animated? And I was like, and I brought up Pantheon, that like it's just not the art style is something that will either it can really make or break an animated series. Oh, and I totally get what you mean. This is a series that just in any other situation would be like, yeah, this is the American anime style, which is kind of, not played out, but like it's just expected. It's a packaging of it. Yeah. And I do like that they went in a different way with
the look definitely helps.
Tiny mouths and tiny hands.
Yeah. Just their face is small in the middle of their giant head.
Right.
I love that. I do like, having Mike Judge involved kind of also just, that's why we love King of the Hill, which I was saying during the weekend of like, people would look at King of the Hill and be like, oh, this could just been a series. But it doesn't hurt to have animation that's for adults that, this could honestly be maybe something that's live action as well. But people can look at this and just think like, oh, this is pretty cool that they do something, an animated series that's not Family Guy or a dumb father and his like weird family.
That's a different, this is a thriller kind of sci-fi side of things. I mean, Scavenger's Reign. I think this is a similar team behind it. I think you could say the same thing about that, is that that could be a live action series with visual effects and things. The comedy part of it is fun. I do feel like every time Mike Judge, you can hear his voice. Every time Mike Judge is there, you can hear like, oh, okay, this is going to be fun. The thing that we kind of docked Carol at the end of the world, for the main character's the voice is just hard for, I think, both of us to listen to as a main character for like the whole series, but as a side character, and especially in this show, a side character who is a partner, who is part of a duo, as a cop, I think also works well.
I love their relationship. I love the always dancing in the car.
Oh, that's great. That's so fun. Yes, you see what I'm saying? All the little elements I like. I do not like the backgrounds. It's the one thing that kind of bothers me. It a lot of the backgrounds, especially in the first couple episodes, reminded me a bit of when you would take a picture into Flash in the early days and then click trace bitmap and how it would come out there.
Oh, and cartoonize it.
Yeah, and cartoon it. Yeah, I was like, well, that's not. A lot of them they like blurred the heck out of it, which I get. But there are some times when I'm watching it and I just feel like these are wild, like just wildly different. The animation, the background designs, they do. I understand they're kind of all under the same style, but they're very, very different. And I remember watching the pilot. I think I watched the first 3 episodes, and I kind of wrote down some notes. And one of them I wrote was remote ? And so I went to go look it up because I was like, this just reeks of like a team that has never seen each other. And I looked it up, and I guess it was very similar. It was I guess they were saying like the studio, the system that they had in place for Scavenger's Reign was born in the in the pandemic and everyone working from home, so they feel very comfortable with that. I don't know. I don't think anyone else notices or cares. But there are some visual references that I felt like. I mean, you shared them with me today, and I had them in my notes. I was gonna bring them up. Yeah. Do you want to share them?
Oh yeah, sure. When the cop was researching the main character, and that shot of him holding the knife is almost an exact copy of the Child's Play cover of Chucky holding the knife. And then the second one, I noticed, and I was like, oh, it was the hospital scene where the guy who got into the car accident, he looks over and there's a little character climbing on the edge of the bed. And it's very similar
like the bedroom
to
scene.
The bedroom scene
the nightmare,
in Akira that terrified me when I was a kid. I seen that, and that's how I know like animation can be frightening in a way where it's like a horror movie. Because when I don't know if I saw that now, if it would scare me as much because I was much younger, but seeing that teddy bear rise up from the and these cute characters in this like bloody weird animation, that's the kind of stuff where you could tell they kind of were influenced. Even I think the character designs are some of kind of similar to Akira. Of course, Akira by far it looks like a kid's drawing of an Akira character.
Sure.
And I mean that in an endearing way.
We've talked about this before that I think, and I don't know if it was talking about, what's it called? Oh man, I can't. Smiling Friends. I don't know if it was talking about that, but there seems to be a style that people are liking right now is the idea that this could have been on YouTube. That kind of thing. Yeah. Like some the character designs, sometimes even the animation. Or I kind of always go back to what was that the Quiznos commercial that felt like it was like early Newgrounds thing. It's like that kind of. People are like, oh, people spend so much time on YouTube. Here's this kind of, I don't know. I might be thinking about it too much, but it does feel like people like some people like the feeling of, they don't want it to be as polished. They want it to be a little bit more rougher on the edges. And we've talked about this so many it's a slow moving trend, but it's something that we talked about a lot over the last year or so, maybe even more than that, because we were talking about, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, with the design styles looking, more rough and more like the concept art and things. And I feel like people are really gravitating toward less perfectly smooth, perfectly worked out. Maybe that's the reason why something like this went with this style as opposed to, I mean, I'm sure it has to do with the creators, but you know what I'm saying? I don't know the push and pull of how this thing got made. I do want to say before we move on though, that those creatures that like are every time a human is being kind of like revived from the mushroom, they look like the little wood spirits from Princess Mononoke. The ones that go and cock their heads to the side. Yeah, so there's a lot of like visual references and a lot. I mean, so many of the action shots are just like kind of carbon copy of other action movies. Some of them animated, some of them live action. It probably wouldn't take super long, but like to go through all of them, it's like a pastiche of things that like they must just have. Here's the reference that we want you to go off of, and then like give that. And not saying that I don't. I say it is one of the things that kind of annoyed me about Rick and Morty, because it kept taking me out of it. And I think I talked about that in my review, is that every time that they made some sort of reference, visual or otherwise, or story or something, I'm just like, I know where that comes from, and it's distracting. So that's what that's what it's like for me. You know, there's a difference between like an homage and just a straight up like carbon copy. We're just doing this exact thing.
Yeah.
Someone shared the Godfather scene that they just like copied in The Simpsons.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's kind of like when I shared the South Park episode where Man Bear Pig was fighting.
Oh right, yes,
Satan. And
from The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. I mean, stuff like that is great when it's, you know, I guess it's purposely doing that, but not the whole episode based on.
So that's the strange thing. Remember when we talked about copyright and we were talking about parody versus satire, and how strangely this is way back in like, what is it, episode 105 or something like that. It was one of those early 100s. I did all that research on copyright and everything, and the strange thing about parody and satire is like parody is you're making fun of this actual thing. Like you're using the art style and you're poking fun at this actual thing. Satire is you're using this thing to poke fun at something else, like a totally. And I feel like I remember the example was, it was like some guy published a book that was it was like in the style of Dr. Seuss. Maybe it was Cat in the Hat. I can't remember, but it was about the O.J. Simpson trial, and and it was determined that was not parody, because they were using the art style not to poke fun at the book or at Dr. Seuss. Like it wasn't parodying Dr. Seuss. It was just using the art style to talk about something completely different. So that was not like that was not protected. So I feel like with something like Mad Bear Pig and fighting Satan, that one is like a call out, like a visual call out, like a reference. But because they used so much of it, like the whole thing was basically blocked out, it might be protected, even though they're not making fun of Incredible Hulk exactly.
I feel like South Park just does it, and then they worry about that later.
They have more money than God. I was gonna say than God, but they have more money than Man Bear Pig. I don't know.
I would assume God is pretty broke.
Yeah. Well, what if God was one of us?
He'd be broke.
He'd be broke. Yeah. Okay. So I said that this wasn't going to turn into a review, and it kind of did. We're like 25 with whatever the intro is, or like 25 minutes into the show. But it is interesting. I'm going to keep watching it, and I like that it's different, and I like that, or it's different than other things that have a large cast like that. Okay. Yeah. What was the talk radio show? God, now I can't remember. Is it For Your Consideration? Something like that? Or In the Know. It was In the Know. Stop motion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it was on Peacock.
Another Mike Judge connection.
Man, I really liked that show. It was only 6 episodes. I really liked it. It was canceled, so it's not getting another one. But I thought that was so good. It was so fun to watch, and it was unique. And I felt like the premise could have gone anywhere. It's probably a budget thing. They can't really produce like a lot of episodes. I do feel like I can see the seams in this show of where they where they save money.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard for me to turn my brain off, and I don't hate it. I actually think it looks very good, and I really one of the reasons that I kind of give the backgrounds a pass is because I feel like there's a lot of choices that are made in the boards, and maybe even they remake decisions in the animation layout process. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of very cinematic choices in there where the tendency for animation is to kind of like put the camera at a very particular like eye level, horizon line kind of situation. So that you can say, I need this background. here is the general perspective grid that we use for these backgrounds. I need a front, I need a 3Q, I need a reverse of that, I need an exterior establishing shot. The exterior establishing shot, we have a bird's eye one, we have a worm's eye one, depending on if it's supposed to be, this whatever. There are kind of like established things that you put into a pipeline in a show to keep everything running. So when you see in an animated show, when it feels cinematic, it's usually because the camera horizon line and the angle, they're changing a lot. So because that's one of the benefits of live action is you can put that camera anywhere, literally anywhere. And there is a big difference between putting a camera at eye level and putting it at chest level, or putting it just above, at the top of the head, or tilting it slightly, or we can do stuff with zoom more. It's the horizon line, so we can kind of in animation very easily fake different lenses. So using using a telephoto lens from far away to kind of get a nice up close shot where you're smashing the background and the character closer together, as opposed to being close up where the character's really big and the background's really, there's a lot of different things that we can do via zoom and lens and that kind of mimic that way. But it really is just placing the camera. And I'm talking 2D animation, not 3D animation, because 3D animation, you could put that camera anywhere, which does beg the question in TV 3D animation why they don't do that maybe more often. But in this one, it's like the choice was very clearly made. We want to make it feel more like a live action, kind of action political thriller type of thing.
It makes you wonder if Vince Gilligan made an animated series similar to this.
Oh, you mean Slippin' Jimmy?
Oh yeah, never mind. Stay away from it. Stay away. Stay in your lane.
Anyway, I would just want to point out there's also Creature Commandos, which I've also been watching, and I really was going to just be very quick about these two, but I think it's because you also watched Common Side Effects, and it is interesting I guess it turns into a little bit of a
something review. That with Creature Commandos has a little bit of the American anime, but there's enough in there that it kind of reminds me of Spawn, the animated series, the dark shading. I think I like that. I like when something, it feels more like the lines aren't too thin. It's so weird. I'm very picky about this stuff, but
I know. Can I tell you what I was gonna say? It's you seen that new show Invincible? Yeah. Okay. I said combine Invincible and The Max together. And that's kind of what I was thinking. Because there is one thing,
3 clips or 2 clips of.
So you haven't seen the show?
No, but I watched half of it yesterday before Common Side Effects, of the pilot episode. I got pretty invested in the character designs and in the story itself.
It looks pretty good. I watched however much there was out at the time. I think it was 5 episodes or something. So I've probably seen about the same amount of each one of them. It's not something that I continued watching because I'm kind of not passing. And I'm very particular about my monsters and I'm not really thrilled about their depiction of Frankenstein. Story-wise, yes, but listen, David Harbour would be awesome physically as Frankenstein, but his voice does not match Frankenstein. I understand what they're trying to do probably is look, it's different, because he's speaking very kind of eloquent. It just doesn't. If you wanted to do something like that, then it shouldn't. His design should not be so, scarred up and patchwork kind of thing. Because I just feel like that is not a creature whose internal organs and vocal cords and everything were a patchwork of multiple. This is just like. It's just did you get Pavarotti's? I don't know. It just doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't work for me. But I like some of the other stuff. But they do have this big whiplash back and forth between the tone. You know, I understand it's headed up under James Gunn, right? So like, I think that sometimes he's very good at balancing tone, and other times he just goes too far. And I feel like, you know, in this one he just goes a bit too far. There was like a scene that it was supposed to be very emotional, and then there was this fight scene between two characters. Oh my goodness. So someone is doing something on the stairs outside of the apartment, and she was asleep. Sorry, my puppy. Sometimes when she is woken up from a sleep, she scream barks, is what I call it.
I mean, yeah, I do that all the time with my dog nightmares.
Anyway, it was just like, it was a very emotional, it's supposed to be a very emotional moment. And then they have this fight scene, and they played this really kind of funny, quirky music with it. And I was like, this doesn't work for me. But hey, you know, I mean, the thing is, you can complain about it so much. You know, it's do you want to continue watching it? That's the question. And I think, unfortunately for both of them, I kind of, if I were not an animator, and I didn't think so much about like the industry as a whole,
yeah,
and I didn't like absorbing kind of different, you know, quote unquote different stuff, I probably wouldn't watch it.
If you weren't,
I probably wouldn't continue watching. I would watch a few episodes and go like, oh, that's kind of interesting, and then just not go back.
I think the thing with Common Side Effects is, I think it's the right time with healthcare being such a hot topic with Luigi.
Yes, totally.
Maggiani.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, you want to hear about my totally original idea? What if he was Luigi from Super Mario?
Yeah, it's totally original.
So many times, like, we get it. The name's Luigi. Wrap it up.
All right. Yeah, let's just get into animation news of the week. Yeah, exactly. Okay, animation news of the week. Obviously, it is animation news of every 2 weeks at the moment. But hey,
it's still a week.
You get the idea. It's still a week. Yes. Like I think I made the point that it's things that are still relevant this week, I think is what it is. And yeah, as we're approaching Oscar season, the first story is the Annie Awards. The Annie Awards were held not too long ago, and let's just quickly go through these and talk about them so that we can kind of maybe talk in general about awards. But yeah, this was supposed to be in the How You Doing, and we ended up doing a whole new segment, which we didn't I don't know if I'm going to call it like show review or something, but anyway. So I'm just going to go top down here. The best feature, it was between Inside Out 2, Kung Fu Panda 4, That Christmas, The Wild Robot, Ultraman Rising, and Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul.
I did see That Christmas.
Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah. What'd you think?
It was nice. I mean, my wife, she's British, so it was very, she loved it a lot. And I think I loved it more because she loved it, because it was kind of experiencing what she has experienced in Christmas. And what I did like about it was, it's not a Santa Claus movie. Santa Claus, Christmas night happens and Santa Claus goes and does his Santa Claus thing, but it's not really focusing on that. It's focusing on just this town around Christmas time. And that's just one of the things that are happening on there. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Oh my God, I finally saw at least 2 movies in the Oscars.
That's amazing.
The other one was
at least 2, but you didn't see.
Yeah, I only watched British cartoons.
Wait, you didn't see The Wild Robot yet?
No, not yet.
You didn't see Inside Out 2?
No.
Okay.
And I'll never see Kung Fu Panda 4.
Yeah, man, I think I saw the first 2, and it's hard for me, I think, to go. Like, even when I saw Toy Story 4, I was like, I mean, it's good. I kind of
It's like saying goodnight after a really fun night with your friends.
Yeah,
and then you're in the parking lot, and then you run into them again. Like, oh,
right.
Oh, do you want to go to a diner? I was kind of gonna go home and use the.
So I don't know if Ultraman Rising was also a sequel, if that's like or a prequel or something. I feel like there was another Ultraman movie, but I can't quite remember. If that's true, that would make 4 out of the 6 sequels, but at least 3 out of the 6 are. Anyway, the winner was The Wild Robot, as in this lineup everyone would have predicted. The best independent feature. The competitors were Chicken for Linda! ! Flow, Kensuke's Kingdom, Look Back, Mars Express, and Memoir of a Snail. I haven't seen Memoir of a Snail yet, but I do want to see it. Mary and Max, I love. I'm looking at the DVD right now on my shelf. It was a pick for remember the RubberOnion viewing party.
Oh yeah,
that I did way back when. That was I think the first time you and I ever did anything, like quote unquote professionally together. As you came over and
did we not do the review for
No, I'm not saying Mary and Max. I'm saying the RubberOnion viewing party.
Oh no,
that was the first thing. Before the reviews came after.
Oh okay. Oh yeah.
Brave was the first review, right? That came after the viewing parties. We watched Nightmare Before Christmas, and I think we watched another one too, and I can't remember what that one was.
Yeah, I just remember. Yeah, I remember Nightmare Before Christmas.
Well, anyway, Flow won.
Yeah.
And I was going to see Flow this weekend, but I haven't seen it. And I will tell you, one of the things that is holding me back from it is the fact that there's no dialogue in it. And that should be very easy. That should be a very easy thing for me to watch. But there is something that is I don't know what it is. It's kind of a mental thing where you kind of feel like you're going to have to focus a little bit more. Not that my focus would drift. Not that I get up from moving. When I watch movies, I watch The Wild Robot, and I just sat there and watched it. Lights off and everything. Watch it just like in a movie theater. I really liked Wild Robot. And I talked about it last time, and I was going to do that with Flow as well. But yeah, again, just something about it just
unfortunately
making
now
it harder for me to pull the trigger on.
Now that tells my brain, like, I wonder what's going on your phone when I hear no dialogue.
Well, it doesn't do that for me, but I think I think once I start watching, it'll be fine. It's just something about the dialogue-free thing that is. It works very well to me, it works. Dialogue-free works very, very well for animated shorts. I prefer animating dialogue-free stuff.
I think Prime. Primal was like
Primal. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, so that's another thing is that I really liked Primal, but that's the thing that took me so long to watch it. I think we probably talked about it at that time. Was because it was dialogue free. All right, so best special production, A Bear Named Wojtek, Moog's Christmas, Orion in the Dark, Tabby McTat, and Yuck with an exclamation point. Lots of exclamation points in this thing. So wait, Orion and the Dark, wasn't that a movie on Netflix?
I think it was a Netflix movie. Yeah, we might.
Yeah, but why was that a special production?
Yeah, what's so special about it?
No, I just like. I guess I don't really. Maybe it's.
I know it wasn't as publicly out as like the Best Picture movie, but I didn't see it. But I'm sure you could even move it to in place of Kung Fu Panda 4 on Best Feature.
Well, no, I guess I'm just.
Well, what
best
category?
One-off special or TV movie? Okay, so.
Oh, okay.
So I guess it's. I guess it was determined as like a TV movie. That's interesting. So because it wasn't released in theaters, maybe because it was only released on Netflix.
But there's a lot of movies like that are I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. That's an interesting one. I should have probably looked that up. And then best short subject. Sorry. Orion and the Dark One. Sorry about that. Best short subject. Beautiful Men, In the Shadow of the Cypress, Ruthless Blade, The Swineherd, and Wander to Wonder.
Oh, I didn't know they made a animated feature about us.
What? Beautiful Men? I thought the Swineherd is the last one that I read. Wander to Wonder won it.
Oh, nice.
And that's something that we talked about before, and that's something that you had shared with me. In the Shadow of the Cypress, I've been reading about because it was an Iranian film, right? And the filmmakers can't. So for Oscar season, a lot of filmmakers come to Hollywood to kind of campaign and do things, and they can't. So it's going to make their their bid for best. I think it's either best animated short or best international animated short. I don't know if they split those up in the Oscars. Yeah. There's so many awards. There's so many award shows now. I think. Let's see. So a show that I worked on, Wonder Pets in the City, was up for Best TV Media Preschool against Disney Junior's Ariel, Gabby's Dollhouse, Jessica's Big Little World, and The Tiny Chef Show. And, of course, The Tiny Chef Show won.
I mean, he's adorable.
It was pretty cool. Be on a show that was nominated for an Annie.
Yeah, I mean, you guys
for an Annie.
You guys premiered not so it was pretty recent.
It was recent, yeah, and it's the first season. So another thing that I think people would be interested in is Best TV Media Mature. So there's Bob's Burgers, Solar Opposites, South Park, The Great North, and The Second Best Hospital in the Galaxy.
Oh wow, those last two I haven't heard of.
The Great North.
Oh, The Great North I have.
Yeah. And The Second Best Hospital in the Galaxy. I think that one is on Apple. There's a couple shows that kind of occupy a very similar part of my brain. Maybe that one's on Amazon, actually, now that I think about it. I think it's on Amazon. Anyway, Bob's Burgers won, because it's a powerhouse. That, by the way, can I just say something about Bob's Burgers? I love Bob's Burgers. And whenever they start and I never know when a new season's coming out. I don't know. Maybe the advertisements just don't get to me. I don't know. All of a sudden, I'll be flipping through stuff. And then on Hulu, and I have to go check on Hulu every once in a while just to go see, is there new Bob's Burgers? And it's oh, look at that. There's a new Bob's. Okay, so Sundays, I'm going to be watching this until the season's end. And it's not that. They'll upload, they'll release 3 episodes, and then there's a break for a month and a half. And I'm I have no idea. And then they release one episode, and then there's another break for 2 or 3 weeks or something. I have no idea when it comes out. and I didn't know how many episodes there were this season. I think there was I think we got up to 10 or something. I can't remember. But we got up to whatever the most recent episode was. And I was okay. So we got a few more to round out the season. And it just, nothing. And I went to go look at when's the next episode coming out, and they were just that was the season finale of that.
Oh, that's
season. It was for this one. It was the Tina writing the ask question. What are those things called? It was ask a 8th grade or whatever.
Oh, okay.
That episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. I just it's always so frustrating. It kind of reminded me of the days of Fox moving shows around from one time slot to another, from one show to another, and you could never keep up with it.
Yeah, they'll change time slots just to promote a new series. What's that new show with the sports guys?
With the sports guys?
Are they sports guys?
I have no idea. I literally have no idea what you're talking about.
It's a new cartoon on Fox. The something guys.
Are you talking about Universal Basic
Oh,
guys?
there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not sports guys.
Oh, I just thought. I assumed.
Oh,
that they were.
okay. I'll just say this. I watched that show.
Yeah.
I watched that pilot.
Yeah.
That's it. That's my review. It was just oof.
Nothing against the animators, because we know some animators on it. But the series.
I never have anything against the animators doing the job. Like,
not everyone could be us who worked on Cartoon President. I know it's one of the
yeah, exactly. You got nothing against. You got nothing against that. It's the show. It is the show that you are reacting to.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a lot of different things in here. I mean, Wild Robot and Arcane basically swept everything. That's basically the overall part of it. And I feel like it's going to be interesting to see what the Oscars go for in terms of animation. But for Wild Robot, Flow, animated shorts, if they're the Oscars are kind of a weird. It's a weird voting body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. What is your Oscar prediction for animated film?
I would have said Wild Robot, and I think I still am saying Wild Robot, just because I'm a little cynical with the Oscar voters. According to animation, and I'm an animator, and I haven't seen Flow yet, and I just feel like that probably means that the Oscar voters are only going to vote for the things that they've seen, and they've probably seen Wild Robot.
Yeah,
and that's probably it. Yeah,
I'll probably see Flow. I would watch it more if it was like a movie based on the mascot of an insurance company. But
yeah, totally. Oh, okay. FLO. I got it. Well, you want to go on to the next one?
Sure. The return to Harry Hill, made with experimental productions techniques.
You just read the article today.
No, this is a short that I knew nothing about it, but it's very all right. How do I set this up? It's very dark, and
moody.
And I thought it was beautifully created, put together. And as far as movie goes, I didn't get the message. I don't want to do any spoilers on it.
Yeah.
But as far as look wise, it's very creative. I feel like there's parts of it that kind of reminds me of remember Mary Shelley's Frankenstein series that they.
Oh, you're talking the paper.
Yeah, kind of paper cutout look.
It was. Shoot, it was called. Oh shoot.
I know it's what's his name? The guy who did Moral Oral and.
Yeah. Shoot. Frankenhole.
Frankenhole, yeah.
Yeah. Frankenhole. Dino Stamatopoulos.
There we go.
Yeah.
Who we ran into once.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, we did.
I'm sure he's listening. But as far as like the story, what I got from it was, but then reading more about it, it seemed like a more hopeful thing at the end than what I thought was more gloomy. With the story, with the overall story. But if we want to talk about animation style, I really like the expression of like the eyes from the main character.
Yeah, you brought up another animated short, which I hadn't heard of before.
Oh yeah, this was from like years ago, but it's a short called Madam. Oh my God, I'm gonna mess up the
Tootly Pootly.
Tootly Pootly, which sounds like a more funnier title than the actual show. But what they did was they had a puppet, and then they kind of composite real human eyes on this doll, and it really gave like, the eyes in the character really sold the emotion. And I'm not sure if they did the same for this character, but with the limitations, it kind of really shows how much you could express from just using eyes that look realistic. I thought it was really interesting. Really interesting short.
Yeah, part of the experimental stuff that they were experimental production techniques. It was basically like it's probably best described as just like any way that they could get any way that they could like kind of work in some style into a shot. They were kind of like playing around with some things, and it looks like it's something that's been out for a while, that PSD to 3D. I think we even talked about it at one point on the show, or at least I've shared it. But it's it takes Photoshop and can export it into things like, I think they use Maya for this one. Is that right?
Yeah. Maya with Photoshop compositing.
Right. And, a lot of the stuff that it looks like they're using it's really just, you could get a very similar thing from exporting the different layers of a background and then kind of extruding it. But I guess the app or the plugin helps to streamline that process. So you can go straight from the design instead of having to construct everything from there. So it's interesting. I think it's another example of a production that's just trying to do whatever it can to kind of explore this new era of animation where you're not confined by one particular style. We've talked about how exciting that is. It's not just 2D has this look and 3D has this look. Now it's 3D can look 2D and 2D can look 3D, and everything is kind of intermixed, and it's just kind of playing around with what's the best style, what's the best thing that we can do for this particular production. And animated shorts, music videos, ads, they really have an opportunity to kind of play around with some of those things, which is exciting.
It does make you think, though, if they went ahead and just made this stop motion and did it practical, I think you would respect it. Like,
I don't think they would have the money for it.
Yeah, it would have limited what they can do, but it still looks just as great. I think even better. Of course, there's something that you admire when somebody kind of just built this and there's actual sets, physical sets of stuff like that. But if you can still tell the story and still have that style, and make it as, polished and look just as if you did it that way, it still benefits how well it looks. I think, like, of course, people would see this, enjoy it, but then there's going to be like people cutting it up and putting it on like how they do they'll put Tool music over something that looks
sure.
How many times I've seen that, and that's the first thing I started thinking about, like, oh my god, teenage Rob would have taken this and just made a supercut of like Tool music over it. Because it does look like it would be a really cool music video.
Sure. Yeah. Or a game.
Yeah. Did you notice when you were watching this, did you notice the change in the siblings throughout the movie? Because I don't know whether I just didn't understand it until the mid thing where I was like, oh, wait, one of the kids is a rabbit now? What's going on here?
You mean did I notice the change throughout?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's kind of a there's like, I mean, there's a couple like points where I feel like it's pretty clear.
See, that's my attention span though, because then I tricked myself into thinking, oh, maybe they're just weird and have antlers.
Right.
I mean, the mom's a bird.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's from the get-go, it's not let's say grounded. It's it's a fantasy.
But what did you get at the overall concept? Did it feel like hopelessness, or was there like
I mean, we can't talk about that without I feel yeah. I feel like it is kind of how you read. Let me say this. I think I've mentioned this before about how I think there's a lot of people who think Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is a very sad movie. It's a very sad, hopeless movie. And again, I can't give anything away, but I think it is. I think it's a very sweet movie. It depends on how you interpret the ending and the stuff that they all go through,
Yeah.
Like what does that mean to you? And I think that, it depends on what part of the story you're dwelling on, I guess. We could probably talk about it off, or maybe let's give it a little bit. Maybe we'll come back and talk about it another time, but let's give it a little bit of time for people to see it. Yeah. So moving on to the next story. I don't even know how to transition in this one exactly. Technicolor. Okay, we all know the name Technicolor.
Yeah.
It is imploding, I guess would be it's not even imploding, it's dissipating. It's going bankrupt, it's shuttering its doors. And Technicolor owns a lot of different businesses. It's the parent company of a lot of different, and for our industry, animation and visual effects, they own Mikros Animation, that we have talked about so many times on this podcast before. What was that? MPC,
Yeah.
and the Mill. And the Mill, all of these have different satellite studios in various countries and states. And for Technicolor to be going under, it means that every single one of these studios is now in threat of being out of work. Early reports were like 10,000 people, which I think was too much. Someone made a post on LinkedIn, and I thought it was very interesting because I think 2 weeks ago, or not 2 weeks, but 2 episodes ago, I think I shared the Visual Effects Atlas, and that person, taking the information from Visual Effects Atlas on all the different people and all the different studios and where they work, it was somewhere around 4,500 people.
Yeah.
That would be out of work. And, because it's all ongoing. The Mill in the U.S., some people, mostly senior members of the Mill in the U.S., have now banded together to create this new company, and they're calling it ARC. And do you remember years ago when we talked about a company called ARC that was, I think, in Toronto that went completely under?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just my brain kind of short-circuited for a second because they're for me, ARC. I feel like Jam-Filled bought ARC and kind of absorbed. I can't so many things have happened in the last as far as all these companies that kind of that shift and go under, and it's just really, really hard to keep track of them all. And then there was another today that was announced. I mean, today is Tuesday, February 25th is when we're recording this. And there was another one that was announced today in Quebec.
It's such a familiar story because throughout the 303 episodes of this podcast, that's been a continuation of it seems like a company that's involved in so many projects being laid off like this is always crazy to me. It's like a Super Bowl team winning the Super Bowl and then getting fired immediately. And it's just,
or visual effects company winning their second Oscar and one of Life of Pi and Rhythm and Hues. Remember that? And then they went under, and that was that started the whole green screen thing.
Now, a lot of from what I read, this was just kind of a reaction to like post-COVID and like separation of different company and the writer's strike. Everything just kind of piling up, and trouble getting investors is one of the major reasons why these things happen. But why do you think it's so difficult to get investors now?
It's tough. I mean, that's a really, really tough thing to answer because, especially Technicolor, like a company that's been around for like 100 years, but it kind of split off its entertainment side from its mechanical, technical hardware side. Into basically two different companies. And yeah, I mean, obviously COVID, we took, the entertainment industry as a whole took a hit with COVID. There was a lot of investment in animation around COVID that I think it might have been one of those situations where a situation like COVID where you are hiring a whole bunch of people to keep up with new demands. And then now there are new demands, new requirements that are put on your studio to keep work going and keep work coming in, and you can kind of coast a little bit and shift money around to keep things going, thinking that, okay, maybe it's a little downturn after live action came in, but we're going to be able to get our stuff back because of all the work that we did during COVID. Then writer's strike happens. If you're in visual effects, that's probably affecting a lot of that. And then that takes another downturn. You can't do it for that many years. And I think another thing that's happening is a lot of companies are starting to, it's like we had a bunch of different companies, and now they're starting to go like, okay, we can't have actually, 50 companies in this space. The only amount of companies that can exist in this space doing this stuff is like, I don't know, like 30 or something like that. So all these other companies need to they go bankrupt. They kind of sell off their stuff. Another company buys it up, and then it's all being consolidated. Yeah. And it's just a bunch of people who got into it and had work and now are in a place where it's just tough. It's a tough thing to solve because you look at companies, you look at when someone hires you, you look at them as your whole job is making sure that there's work for us to do. And it does feel like it's a failure when you're not able to do that. And I think that whenever a company says, well, the market downturn, things beyond our control, like we really wanted to keep this all going and this is all very unfortunate. Of course, what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, we didn't want this to happen, but unfortunately this is what has to happen. But I think for people that are going through it, what it feels like is, hey, it's out of our control.
Yeah.
Like, don't be mad at us. And like, no, I'm going to be mad at you. I have to be mad at someone. I'm going to be mad at you because you weren't able to do this. Like, I don't really care how much you wanted to do it. You had a company and it failed. And now I am the recipient of your failure. I think that's the anger that people kind of feel over it. And then they get very split because they might like the people that they work with individually. And they probably have no concept of the ultimate leadership. So at a certain point, they kind of draw a line. They're like, oh yeah, I like my leads. I like my directors. I like that. But the upper leadership, they made all these bad decisions and now we've all lost our jobs. And it's obviously very complicated, but that's just part of like being a business. You can't feel bad for them either because like that's just part of the deal. Like you ran a business that went under. Like
yeah, it's really sad. I mean, I've seen some animators make post about quitting animation, and they have to look out for their family and their livelihood, and they have to kind of move on to something else. And it's kind of like really upsetting to see something that you've worked so hard to be part of, this industry, just kind of like let you down so many times. And it just doesn't seem like, there's any kind of conclusion to like helping out this industry. So
I mean, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
We're at a place where we've talked about it a few times. I mean, that because of where we are now, there's just a lot of people that have entered into animation and visual effects that are just they're just going to change careers. Like, they're just going to have to change careers, and it's because I just don't think that there's not that many. There's not jobs for everyone. I'm not saying that anyone should change careers. I'm just saying, like, just be aware that where we are right now is tough, and it's uncertain when we're going to get out of it. So if you have a backup plan, you might want to start enacting it. But if you don't have a backup plan, now you got to turn in your afterburners and like really try to hustle. I personally, I mean, I don't have work right now, and I have, let's see, I think I'm up to 11 now meetings that I've taken, for potential jobs. Most of those, and I don't know what the number is, I'd have to count them, but I'd say upper 75% of the meetings that I've had over potential work have been just to meet the person who's doing the hiring, but they don't actually have a job at the moment. I mean, they do, but they don't. Like, they're kind of like, they have a perspective thing, and they're just trying to like do their due diligence and make sure when it's time to jump that they have people to go for. And that's kind of an uncomfortable place to be, because while I think that they all went perfectly fine, I think that I have a reel and a resume that speaks for itself, so to speak. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I have the job, because there's also times where people might look at, I've been a director in the past, and so they might just this might be for animation. They might completely just write me off for it. So I'm kind of grateful that my last couple jobs were, I animated on Archer, I animated on Wonder Pets. I have animator in my resume recently, so that potential employers can see that and go, oh, okay, so he'll take animation jobs. And I think that's what's gotten me actual callbacks, is because I had these other work. So if you're in that situation and you have something that you've been in a senior position, you're like, I just need work, I can kind of downturn. You need to work a little bit harder to get yourself out there and let people know, I will take less money. I will take, I just need something. I've been kind of saying, I basically will take any job that is double unemployment. That's my, that's my cutoff point, I guess. Which, it's not a lot. But I sat down and made a list of things. I think we might have talked about that at one point before I did it, just over drinks one time. That I had to make a list of, okay, here's some personal projects I want to do. Here's some, some stuff personally I want to do. Here's some things that I think might lead to something else. I'm kind of trying to work all the angles that I can. That does, because I can't really change careers exactly at this point, but I could diversify my my search for things. Like, my search is not all for in office or like office work or freelance work. I'm kind of hitting all the bases that I can, including trying to get my own thing going. So it's tough. You did mention, I mean, you're working at the Late Show, which is pretty stable.
Yeah, thankfully, yeah, very.
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
Lucky.
Just like from your perspective, looking around and seeing like the state of things outside.
I do wonder if I wasn't already doing what I'm doing and I'm like kind of interested in animation, would I, I think that's why a lot of people are going towards the route of promoting their own work and promoting themselves as a product so that they can kind of, but that's, I think, even more hard to just kind of like start from there and earn revenue from just your own kind of creations and stuff. So I it's a hard thing to say because it's just like on one hand, this industry's always been kind of tough for animators and visual effects artists, I think it's definitely something that always kind of been a running gag where it's just like, oh, you're an artist, you must hate yourself or something, because it's always been a joke, the starving artist kind of thing. But it does make you question why is it, if it's so on demand for movies and media and stuff like that, why is it always so hard for them? And how come we didn't get an impact the same as the writer's strike? And so it's just, it does feel,
say it again,
the same way the writer's strike had that impact. I feel like animation's kind of doing it, but it's always like you get to the top of that hill, then like you kind of slide down back.
Oh, you mean why is animation like the stand with animation?
Yeah,
like why is that not get as much? Well, it's because animators are not writers. Like the Writers Guild is always the one that they negotiate first in kind of like the lineup of things, and it goes writers, it goes actors, and then it goes craft, basically, like not crafty, but like all the trade things in IATSE, and it is a little frustrating because I remember when the writer's strike was going on and this animation was released as kind of like an explainer thing. I remember it kind of going around in the animator space of like, well, why didn't they use a union studio to produce this? Why was it an independent studio? And I mean, I know why, or at least one could guess why. But I think that there is little things like that are, it's unreasonable to expect that. You need an explainer, you need something to kind of go out. It's not directly related, I guess is what I'm saying. I understand the sentiment. I think it was maybe not, it wasn't a strong point, but it did illustrate how animators feel over supporting other creatives and then feeling like maybe we don't really get that same support in return, little lip servicey kind of stuff. And some of it is it's a little internalized. It's starting to become externalized, but there is kind of an underlying fact, which is just animation in the public eye is just not as important as other things. I don't know how many times I actually this weekend it came up again, and I feel like I've said this so many times around you. You're like, oh, here it goes on his monologue again. But it's a very simple concept that some people just do not want to watch animation. That's just a thing. Yeah. There's a big group of people that just don't care about it. And then when there is, like, you see a TV show and oh, that person, I know that person, but you see an animated thing and you have to know the people behind it in order to go, oh, I know that. Like, that's why, voice actors who are cast, unless people know who they are, unless people have seen them or like are very aware of them, it's tough to get sympathy, I guess, behind a group. And I think that's kind of where we are. It's just tough to get sympathy behind us as animators. I think people understand it, people get it, but it's kind of like we're the people behind the people, or the people being animated characters and designs and things like that. It's like to an extent, anyone that's behind the camera that is not someone who would go to an award show like a director, or would accept the awards like a producer, right? It's just not public facing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I guess it's the same as like live action production crew, location scouts, and putting the gaffer's guy and all those elements build this product, but it's just kind of, you can't name everyone individually, so you just kind of like don't appreciate it as much.
Yeah, I mean, what was it, Golden Globes? I mean, Colin Farrell got up and like thanked some of the people on Crafty, the makeup people, obviously, like people that interact with the people who are going to win the award. Do you know what I'm saying? Like animators, like it's just very rare for a person to get up on stage like winning for best voice acting or something like that. Like they may have like the animators who made it work, but like no one's calling out specifically names of, what I'm saying? Yeah. I guess I'm just saying it's a couple degrees of separation, and you take that and you put it on a massive scale across the country, and it's just, people just don't really care as much. We're there as a secondary. No, I just think we just don't garner as much widespread sympathy as the live action community. I don't want to like bring anyone down. I just think that's just the fact.
I mean, things are going to change though, because the Smurfs are coming.
Oh no, we do not have time for this. It's 10:30, man. We don't have time for that.
Voice actor Rihanna.
We don't have time for that.
No, unfortunately not. Yeah. But that would be a fun topic for another day. I wanted to end something with not so doom and gloom.
I don't think it's yes. You're right. Yes, I don't think that our industry is completely doom and gloom. But I do think that we are in a really tough place.
Yeah.
And I just don't think. I think our stability is really, really dependent on the stability of live action entertainment.
Yeah.
And how well that's doing, and we kind of coast along with it. Yeah. You got a streaming service? Okay, you need those good live action stuff, and then you can start thinking about bringing in some good animated stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta it's just,
I don't know if you ever seen,
we're not the first ones thought about, I guess, is the point.
Any kind of coverage on the WWE, but it's like animators work for Vince McMahon. You're a superstar, everyone loves your work, but you have no health care and you die very young.
And that'll do it for this episode of the RubberOnion Podcast. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We're going to keep this quick. We did have other things that we had a whole trailer talk and AI watch and everything, but we just got talking way too much about the other stuff. It's been a little bit. So we want to get this stuff out, and Rob's got to get to work. Rob, why don't you tell them how you can follow you on the internet?
You could follow me on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and all that other stuff. Just Rob Ufo and YouTube as well. Stephen Brooks, how about you?
Well, I'm Stephen Brooks. I'm the RubberOnion. You can follow me at RubberOnion everywhere. You know the deal. We'll see you in the next couple of weeks. Enjoy. Goodbye. Rob's got to go.
Bye.